Please go ahead.
Hello, bonjour, Ani. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're staying safe and healthy. My name is Laura Kinnunen. I'm the manager of Northeast Program Delivery for FedNor and MC for today's announcement. Today, I'm joined on the virtual stage by the Honorable Anthony Rota, Member of Parliament for Nipissing Temiskaming, Terry Sheehan, Parliamentary Secretary to the Honorable Mélanie Joly, Minister of Economic Development and Official Languages, and Minister responsible for FedNor, Mayor Al McDonald, Jack Santerre, Airport Manager of North Bay Jack Garland Airport Corporation. Merci d'être là pour cette annonce importante. First, let me acknowledge the traditional lands. First, let me acknowledge the traditional territories of the indigenous peoples who have inhabited these lands for thousands of years. I wish to show them respect today. Two quick housekeeping items before we begin. The chat function has been turned off for this event. However, in the chat room box, you will find the links to the news release for today's announcement. There will be a question and answer session for members of the media following the presentations. All are welcome to listen in. Without further delay, let me introduce our first speaker, the Honorable Anthony Rota. On December 5th, 2019, Mr. Rota was elected as the 37th Speaker of the House of Commons for the 43rd Parliament. On April 20th, 2020, he was also appointed Chair of the Special Committee on the COVID-19 pandemic. The special committee was established to examine the government response to the pandemic and includes all members of the House of Commons. So without further ado, allow me to introduce a very special guest, the Honorable Anthony Rota, Member of Parliament for Nipissing Temiskaming.
Thank you very much, Laura. Merci beaucoup. Hello, bonjour, Annie. Bonjour. I'm thrilled to be here today and have the Parliamentary Secretary for FedNor with us, Terry Sheehan. And he's with us quite often these days, and it's always a pleasure to have him back, not only because he's pleasant, but because he's here to announce some funding for different things in the Nipissing Temiskaming riding. Thank you for joining us on this virtual FedNor announcement today, Terry. Although Zoom events like this one are still a part of reality, we can all sense a return to normal coming up, and it's imminent. It's coming, and we all want to be there. And I'm sure it'll be here before we know it. And I just want to thank all Canadians for the hard work from coast to coast. Our vaccination rates are high, and the declining number of COVID-19 cases are the envy of the world, and that's something that we can all be proud of as Canadians. Among the many benefits that this is having on our country is it's enabling the Government of Canada to move forward with adjustments on border measures, allowing Canadians to be a little bit more flexible on where they want to go and where they can come back from. C'est une excellente nouvelle pour nos entreprises touristiques, nos communautés et nos aéroports régionaux. We all are looking forward to the day when we can board a plane without any worry to go reconnect with our families and friends and explore once again this great country and what it has to offer. That's why I'm thrilled that today's announcement supports just that. But before I reveal too much of what's going on, I want to introduce our special guest, my friend and colleague, Parliamentary Secretary Terry Sheehan, who will give us all the details on what today's announcement is about. Now, Terry was born and raised in Sault Ste. Marie, and he spent his career working both the private and public sector in those businesses in the areas of community and economic development. He served at Sault Algoma constituents for 2 terms as trustee for Huron Superior Catholic District School Board and was a 4-term city councillor. And I know we've got Mayor Al here, and I've often said that municipal politics is a great training ground. Having been there myself, you really get a good understanding of what politics are on the ground level, and that really does help at the federal level. And we can see it in Terry's outlook on things, where he does consider what's going on at all levels. Now, after his election to the Canadian Parliament in 2015, Terry served as co-chair to the All-Party Steel Caucus and co-chair of the Canada-Japan Interparliamentary Group. Following his re-election in October 2019, Terry was appointed as Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Economic Development and Official Languages and Minister responsible for FedNor. Please join me in welcoming FedNor's Parliamentary Secretary, Terry Sheehan. Terry, it's all yours.
Well, thank you very much, Anthony. That was very, very kind words. And Laura, thank you as well for getting us started and facilitating this very important announcement we're about to make today. But before I go too far, I would be absolutely remiss if I did not acknowledge you, Anthony, for the work that you did with your private members bill in 2009 and 2011 about FedNor independence. And in budget 2021, we got it. And we stand on the shoulders of giants. And Anthony, I want to thank you for your work, for your research, which really helped us create a very compelling case. And we'll see even more great stuff coming from FedNor in the future. So thank you, Anthony. Before I go too far, I also wish to say hello to Mayor Alan MacDonald. Good to see you again. And as Anthony has noted, we've been on quite a few Zooms together in announcing quite a few things that you have advocated for, along with Anthony. So it's great to share the virtual stage with you again, Mr. Mayor. And Jack, I'm glad to see you too as well there. Good to see you safely sitting there, and I appreciate your advocacy too as well, Jack, over the pandemic. I'm joining you from Sault Ste. Marie, and it's the traditional territories of the Ojibwe, Batchewana First Nation, Garden River First Nation, and also the Métis of this area as well. So I want to thank them for sharing the land, past, present, and future. And we're all committed to continue working together on truth and reconciliation and a great number of things. So Chi-miigwech, everyone. And bonjour à tous. It's a beautiful day here in Sault Ste. Marie, and I'm told as well in North Bay. So it's a good day for us to, have an announcement. And I'm pleased to make this on behalf of Minister Joly, the Minister of Economic Development and Official Languages, and the Minister responsible for FedNor. And I'd like to thank her for her absolute work on bringing a number of announcements to Northern Ontario, but also on FedNor independence too. So the pandemic itself, well, it's created a health crisis, and it's still very real, and we're still working together very hard on protecting people. And we're seeing vaccination rates increasing all across Northern Ontario. And I'm so proud to see how high rates that we're having here in Canada. So when it's your turn, I hope you roll up your sleeve and get the shot. At the same time as we're protecting the health of people, we know that certain sectors of our economy have been tremendously affected. All parts of the economy have been affected, but the regional air transportation has really taken a hit, because we've asked people to stay sheltered in place. We've asked people to remain at home. And so thank you for those people that have done that really helped us make a difference during this pandemic. And of course, thanks to the essential workers that went to work every day, including those that work at our air industry too as well, to continue some of that necessary travel that had to happen essentially, in particular around health initiatives, evacuating people for forest fires and so many other regions, and also kept our important supply chains going during this pandemic, whether it's PPEs or vaccines, they're all coming in by air. So again, thank you to everyone that's working in our regional air transportation initiative. So of course, regions across this country and their businesses and communities have been hampered in part due to this reduction or suspension of regional flights. And we were all very concerned when we saw the announcement, in North Bay about the Air Canada that was suspended, but now is back. So we're very, happy to see that here in Northern Ontario. So we know that air transportation is an essential service for communities' well-being and for regional economic development. And air regional connectivity is a necessary condition for the prosperity and vitality of Canadians wherever we live. So the government of Canada is keenly aware of this importance, And that is why we launched the Regional Airport Transportation Initiative, the RATI, in March of this year. The goal of the RATI is to foster access to air transportation and boost regional air transportation ecosystems. So this national initiative has a budget of $206 million over 2 years. So it's going to help that ecosystem, the businesses, the airports, the carriers, to continue to support our region's economic growth, while also enabling them to adapt to new post-COVID-19 realities and requirements. This initiative complements measures implemented by Transport Canada to boost the air transportation sector. So together we will be able to ensure air connectivity remains sustainable in our regions. The need is absolutely there. So the Jack Garland Airport, the largest airport north of Toronto, is a significant regional transportation hub for Northern Ontario. It has one of only 4 10,000-foot runways in Ontario, and the only one in Northern Ontario. The airport is also the only facility of its size in Ontario with a dedicated airside post-secondary aviation training facility critical to Canadore College's aviation programs. In addition, it is home to North Bay's largest industrial park, featuring airside and groundside opportunities for investors. It is also used for medical emergency flights, military flights, of course, and forced firefighting efforts. As you can see, the Jack Garland Airport provides essential services for residents, students, and businesses alike. But the COVID-19 pandemic has had a major impact on the airport's operation. Over the last year and a half, passenger traffic decreased as much as 80% from 2019 levels. And aircraft movement is down 55%. This has an unfortunate layoff of some of the airport staff. And that is why I'm thrilled to be here today to share how the Government of Canada is helping. I'm pleased to announce that the North Bay Jack Garland Airport Corporation will be receiving a non-repayable contribution of more than $1.1 million from FedNor. This funding will help mitigate the financial pressures experienced by the organization due to the COVID-19 pandemic, including helping to maintain 11 jobs. It will also allow the airport to increase utilization of current assets to retain growth, support and attract aviation and aerospace businesses, passengers, and tenants. This investment will undoubtedly support the region's economic recovery in the months to come. I'm sure Chris will have more to say about this in a few minutes. This investment today yet again attests to the Government of Canada's willingness to support economic development across the country and foster sustainable, inclusive growth for all. This project will not only help stimulate the region's economy, but will also enable the Canadian economy to bounce back even stronger after the crisis. The announcement of our support to the North Bay Jack Garland Airport is a good example of this. In conclusion, congratulations to you, Chris, the entire team at the North Bay Jack Garland Airport. Thank you. Merci. Chimiwich.
Thank you, Mr. Rowe and Mr. Sheehan. FedNor est fier de ses nombreux programmes qui ont contribué à soutenir les entreprises et les organisations économiques touchées par la pandémie de COVID-19, notamment l'initiative de transport aérien régional. Our regional airports play a key role in creating jobs and maximizing community economic development and business growth opportunities across Northern Ontario. As noted at the beginning of the event, Mayor Al MacDonald is with us today. And here to give us an inside look at the importance of today's funding, please welcome Al MacDonald. Over to you, Mayor MacDonald.
Well, thank you very much, Laura, and it is my pleasure to bring greetings on behalf of my citizens here in the city of North Bay. And as Terry had mentioned, it is a beautiful day here in North Bay as well as right across Northern Ontario. We're very proud Northerners. I remember right down to the minute when Jack had called me regarding Air Canada. And of course, the pandemic forced a lot of airlines to suspend their flights. And as you can imagine, we were going to lose 80% of our revenue to keep our airport open. And I think Terry said it well. 11, it'll save 11 positions at our airport. It's far bigger impact than that. We have over 500 individuals that are in the aviation business up at our airport industrial park. If we would have lost our airport, we could have lost those 500 jobs. So it would have been a very significant hit to the city of North Bay, and losing a very major tenant that we have up at the airport industrial park would have been massive for us. So you can imagine losing 500 good paying jobs. And that's just on the aviation side. That's not all the other businesses that depend on our airport, including the 65 mining companies that we have in the city of North Bay that have to, fly in and fly out. I am very proud of two facts. One, our council did not waver. So when the announcement of Air Canada suspending their flights and basically, the airport having no revenue, our council jumped immediately and provided the lifeline or the support to the airport board to make sure that they knew that they had enough money to continue the operations and not let it shut down. And secondly, it sent a very strong message to all our business partners that the city council was not going to allow this really important asset leave our community. And, I remember all the questions I got from the media back then. Well, why don't you just, suspend the airport for a year or 2 years till, the pandemic's over and then start up again? Well, we could have lost those businesses, number one. And number two, Jack will probably tell you, to go through the recertification would have taken years. So that was why it was critical for the city of North Bay and city council to take the stand that they did. And it really shows leadership on their part by having the faith to put up that money that the airport needed to make sure that it stayed open and send a very clear message. Number two, very proud of our airport manager, Jack St-Terre. He and his team have done a tremendous job for us. They deserve all the kudos and support. They were the ones that were able to get us through the pandemic. And Jack will probably correct me if I'm wrong. The amount of money that they asked for us was minimal, if none at all, unless it's just lately. But they've done a tremendous job cutting back and making the changes that they need. And I started by saying, I remember to the minute when Jack called me about Air Canada and the challenges we're going to have at the airport. And Anthony will probably remember this. My first call was to Anthony, saying, Anthony, we need your support. We need the federal government to play the role that the federal government needs to do in a country as great as Canada, and that's to support small cities and municipalities. When I say small, we're 50,000, 52,000 here and about 85 to 100,000 regionally. So our airport's regional. So the fact that, Anthony took the call, which he always does, by the way, it's not that he just took that call. He takes lots of my calls. But he said that he would work with us since day one, and he was true to his word. So I just want to say thank you to you, Anthony. Terry, you've always been a great friend to Northern Ontario. You're always willing to, take our calls and listen to the challenges and opportunities that we have. So I just want to say thank you for your spirit of cooperation. On a final note, I think that what I'd like to convey, and I know Jack is going to talk about the operations of the airport a bit, is we're open for business and our mandate is to grow. And we're having tremendous success, even through the pandemic, where our construction numbers are through the roof. The employment opportunities are incredible here. So anyone on the call, please know that we welcome investment and welcome development in our community. And we are a full service community. We'll do whatever we can to get your business here and assist you in every step of the way. But now that we're starting to come out of the pandemic, it's very clear. I mean, obviously, we're worried about the Delta variant. And I agree with Terry, please get vaccinated. That's how we're going to get back to normal. So I just want to lend my voice to take the time to get vaccinated, because that's what's going to protect you, your family, your friends in our community. And maybe the final thing is thank you. We appreciate your hard work. I know what it was like when I was the MPP. Everybody thinks you just ask and it happens. That's not the case. You're twisting a lot of arms and banging a lot of doors, and I know how much work goes on behind the scenes. So thank you. And again, just kudos to Jack St. Terre and his team.
Thank you, Mayor McDonald. And now, please join me in welcoming Jack St. Terre, Airport Manager, North Bay Jack Garland Airport Corporation. Over to you, Jack.
First, I would like to thank the federal government for their continued support during the pandemic, as the air transportation system as a whole was and still is severely impacted by this event. And it will be a while before we come out of it. And to sort of repeat some of the things that have been said, during the past 16 months, we have seen scheduled passenger traffic drop by an average of 80%, while aircraft movements dropped by an average of 55% from pre-pandemic numbers. These changes had a severe impact on our operating revenues, while most operating costs being fixed remained unchanged in order to maintain a safe airport and meet our certification for Transport Canada. During that period, the airport stayed open. With the help of the city and help of the various government initiatives, we were able to continue to provide service for freight, air ambulances, police, military aircraft, all the essential services that needed to take place through the pandemic. And most recently, with the return of Air Canada, we are starting to see a growth back of our scheduled passenger essential business travel moving. The funding announced today will allow us some time to reestablish pre-pandemic levels of traffic as we start to build the new normal for our industry. So we'll never be back to where we were. There is going to be a new normal, and we're working hard to be at the cutting edge of that new normal. The funding is essential to ensure the North Bay Jack Garland Airport continues to provide a critical transportation link to our region in order to be a catalyst for the recovery and growth of the regional economy. So the airport provides a critical piece to the whole region. It drives. Without an airport, without a vital airport, you're missing an important link to attract new business to be part of the growth and return of your economy. So once again, I thank everybody for your continued support. MP Rhoda, from day one, I spoke to you. I can still remember last March, I said I needed this like I needed a kick in the head. But at the same time, your continued unwavering support, MP Sheehan, several meetings with Northern Airports, with your team, with FedNor, greatly appreciated. And without a doubt, City Council's steady faith in the Airport Corporation and our ability to provide the region with what's required, unwavering. Thank you very much for everything. And this morning, it's a great pleasure to receive this additional funding to support us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. We appreciate you taking the time to highlight how today's announcement will help the regional air transportation ecosystem. At FedNor, supporting Northern Ontario businesses and organizations is at the heart of what we do, and I'm always excited to hear firsthand the results of our investments and how they're delivering for North Bay region and all of Northern Ontario. And speaking of positive results, I would like to take this opportunity to give a shout out to FedNor Initiatives Officer Guy Paquette for his leadership on this important file. L'annonce d'aujourd'hui est un bon exemple du travail extraordinaire qui font des agents comme Guy et des résultats positifs qu'ils obtiennent pour les clients de FedNor et toute la région sous forme d'emploi et de croissance durable. This concludes the formal part of our agenda. We will now begin the media question and answer portion of this event. Everyone is welcome to stay and listen in, but for anyone who may have to head out, I wish to thank you for attending today's announcement. For members of the media, please use the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen to let us know if you wish to ask a question. Pour les membres des médias, veuillez utiliser le bouton lever la main au bas de votre écran pour nous faire savoir que vous souhaitez poser une question. Once you do this, we will unmute your mic and I will invite you to ask your question.
It looks like we have a question from Jennifer Hamilton McCharles.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Hi, thank you. It's going to be a two-part question. I'll take the advantage while I can. This is for Mr. Rhoda. Anthony, can you tell us when the border will be possibly reopening to non-essential travel? And then my second question, is there concern with the recent strike vote that Canada Border Service agencies will cause further disruption?
Unfortunately, my crystal ball isn't working right now, so I really can't tell you when the border will be completely open. The government is looking at all the different possibilities and trying to make a decision that will be based on science. And as we see new answers coming up and new questions being asked, and not necessarily in that order all the time, what we're noticing is that we're opening more and more. We're leaning that way. Obviously, we've opened to the United States. We're hoping that they'll open to us for vaccinated Canadians as we open to vaccinated Americans. And as we move in that direction, we'll see more and more traffic. And I'm sure for airports like North Bay's Jack Garland Airport and other regional airports, that really does mean a lot, because as people move in and out of Canada, we'll have the regional airports supplying the hub back and forth. So this is one of the keys to keeping our economy and our travel going. On the other one, the strike is definitely something that is looming. It is a possibility. They haven't had a contract since 2018. And I guess the date that they're looking at is August 6th as everything opens up. So the border guards will have to make a decision on whether they actually go on strike or whether they have other forms of interruption. It will undoubtedly cause something at the border. How severe it's going to be is hard to say. But overall, I'm looking forward to seeing more and more traffic at not only our hub airports, but our regional airports as well.
Thank you, Mr. Rhoda. Jennifer, do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, thank you. This can either be for Mr. Sante or Al. I just wanted to know, without this additional funding, this $1.1 million, what kind of impact without the funding would this have had on the airport? Would there be further reductions? Would there be loss of jobs? Kind of give us a sense of how important this funding was.
So Jen, maybe I'll let Jack start and then I can just add on to his comments, if that's okay.
So the funding is critical to sustaining the continued operation for the airport. In the past year and a half, we've lost over 1.5 million in revenue that would have sustained our operation. We've made a lot of changes, but at the same time, in order to maintain the airport operation and to allow it to continue to support the 400 or 500 plus jobs at the airport, this funding is essential. It eliminates the need for us to go back to the taxpayers of North Bay right now. It allows us to move on with our plans without going to, have to always look for other sources of funding. So this is critical. It's critical to all airports across the country, and it's specifically critical to ours when you go through a percentage where you've lost 80% of your scheduled passengers over in a 16-month period overnight. So it's critical for us to survive. Without a doubt, without the support from our MPs in the north and the federal government, airports would have started to fall off the books.
So Jen, I'll just add on to what Jack had stated. Council was very clear, and I remember you were one of the ones that were asking the questions back when we as a council, decided to move forward and keep the airport open. And they were really good questions. But we've demonstrated our commitment to the airport. And I remember we took a bit of flack for it too, right? People thought that maybe we should just let it shut down. But I think once people learn the amount of jobs that are up at the airport, over 500 in the aviation business, on top of the thousands of people that work in the mining sector that depend on our airport, that wasn't really an option for us. So to answer your question, I think council would have been there regardless of this announcement today or not. We would have continued to support our airport. It is, we're very gracious and thankful that the federal government did step up, because as Jack had mentioned, it's our taxpayers that are actually footing the bill. But you can imagine if, 1,500 good paying jobs left our community because there was no airport, I think people would have recognized that that was the wrong decision to make by allowing the airport to close. So we would have continued to operate it. But this is where the support and I'm very proud here of the relationship that we have with the province and the federal government. So our MP, Anthony Rota, and our provincial minister, Vic Fideli, and the municipality of the city of North Bay, we work very closely together. And I think that's what taxpayers, and I think that's what citizens want, is us all working together. And today's announcement really shows where, here's a case where the federal government and the municipality work very closely together for a good outcome. The other piece that wasn't really stated here that that we need to thank the federal government is the fact that Air Canada returned service back to North Bay and about 7 other regional airports. And that was critical not only for the city of North Bay, but other communities our size right across the country. So we need to recognize the federal government's participation in coming to the table and negotiating the return, as the municipality did with Air Canada returning to our community, because that is critical as well.
Thank you. We do have another question. I'd like to remind everyone, please begin by telling us your name, the media organization you are with, and to whom you are directing your question. Go ahead, Eric Tashner.
Hello, Eric Tashner, CTV News, North Bay. This question is for Jack. We've heard that passenger travel is down 80%. When do you expect it to go back to a normal level? Or when do you hope to see it go back up to that normal level?
Currently, we're starting to see a return in growth and since the flights. So I guess first I'd like to state, through the pandemic, Bearskin Airlines continued their services. Air Canada returned in July, which is critical to connecting us to the major hubs and allowing us to, for our business community and our citizens, to connect across Canada and across the world to ensure business. So we're starting to see a return of passengers growth. I would say every study that I've read, it's anywhere from 2 to 5 years for us, for airports and for the industry to return. There's the optimistic people that say 2 years. Reality is going to be somewhere between 2 and 5 before everything, I believe everything is back to pre-pandemic levels. We're well underway with the growth, even to the point where Air Canada is already making plans to return with their second daily flight. We've gone to daily flights with Air Canada. We have Bearskin this morning just announced that they were going to return to additional flights. So there is movement. The economy's starting to open. People are starting to travel. By nature, we're social. We're not meant to be stuck in our houses and not move for forever and a day. So you will see the natural course of people coming back and making travels. We've already seen Sunwing commit to come back this December to do the winter excursion type flights for those who really need to get away from the cold in the wintertime. But so all in all, we're on the positive side. I believe we've crossed the top and we're now we've gone to the bottom and we're now starting to come on the upswing. It's just going to be time. It's going to be a couple of years before things sort of really settle out. Then we'll go back to see the traditional growth that we had been seeing over the last 5 to 6 years, where we were growing in passenger numbers 2 to 3% per year. And I fully expect that's going to continue once we come out of the pandemic and the economy starts to flow again.
If I could add to that, totally unscientific, but based on the number of passport applications that are going through, Canadians are really, they have a pent up demand, and they're looking forward to travel. So I'm very optimistic, maybe closer to 2 years, further from the 5 years. And I'm looking forward to air travel picking up again. So just based on a very unscientific observation that I've taken from the local constituency office perspective.
Thank you. Is there a follow-up question?
No, I'm good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, I don't see any further questions right at this moment. So if we were unable to get to your question today, please contact one of the people identified at the bottom of the news release. So in closing, I would like to thank the Honorable Anthony Rota, Parliamentary Secretary Sheehan, Mayor Al McDonald, Jack Santerre, and everyone who turned in for today's virtual announcement. En terminant, j'aimerais remercier tous les intervenants et les participants qui ont pris part à cette importante annonce virtuelle de FedNord. Our event is now concluded. Notre événement est maintenant terminé. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you.